Howdy. Today we'll take a quick look at NAFTA, or USCMA, which has become, and deindustrialization, which is a topic that goes with it. Europe has the EU, which countries are able to have no economic borders. They can buy and sell, and it makes a lot of money for Europe. It makes Europe a big market. Well, the United States kind of did the same thing. NAFTA is where the United States, US, and Mexico become an economic group, just like the EU and Europe. No tariffs. So you're an American company. You can make stuff in Mexico and ship it back to America. No tariffs. The area along the border of the U.S. and Mexico on the Mexican side became known as the Maquiladora district. And Maquiladoras were that area in Mexico where American companies would come down and make the product. You get the benefit of labor in Mexico, which is cheaper, a little less union restrictions like in America. Remember, we've talked about the right to work laws. You have different environmental regulations. And by putting it right on the border with the United States, you also have the added benefit then of lessening your transportation costs. So maquiladoras along the Mexican border were a good idea. When NAFTA was set up, it was passed in the United States, and it was a big thing in America because American companies now become competitive with companies around the world. But a problem with NAFTA is a lot of American companies did just that. They went down to Mexico. They built their factories there, taking a lot of manufacturing or secondary jobs out of the United States. Enter in the picture Donald Trump. Trump decided that, NAFTA was not a good deal because it was taking a lot of manufacturing jobs away from America. And if you're a politician, you need those votes. States like Ohio and Michigan and all those other ones. So he updated NAFTA. It's called the USMCA. Now, what it is basically is just an updating of NAFTA. Some of the big things, country origins. Automobiles have to have 75% of their components manufactured in our area, which hopefully then, allows the United States to manufacture more parts, even if we're not assembling the cars here. Labor provisions. It raises the wages up. It helps the people in Mexico. They're going to be getting more money, but it also makes American companies a little bit more competitive because now if you're paying $16 an hour, that's getting closer to what people in America make. And we had a big beef with the Canadian dairy market. They kept keeping our people on. Think about a state like Wisconsin, for crud's sake, the cheeseheads, So we want more access to the Canadian dairy market. Threatening to pull NAFTA would be a huge loss to both Mexico and Canada. They're our big trade partners. And so both of them were brought to the negotiating table, kind of kicking and kicking and screaming. We did get an agreement. There are certain things in there like a sunset clause, which means basically after 16 years, it's going to go away unless everybody renews it. And pretty much NAFTA has come to be. Now, there's this a really neat site. If you hit this link, Vox has got a great thing. Look at the video at the end of the link where they talk about cars made in the United States and Mexico. All right, this brings up the topic of deindustrialization. Think about it. When factories are moving their jobs out of the country, those jobs are gone. But those are primarily secondary jobs. Hopefully in your country like America, hopefully you start having more tertiary, quaternary, and quinary jobs. Those are higher paying incomes, so that's what you want. But if you look at the picture on the left, the ruin of Detroit's, that's what happens. I mean, you don't make the products here. You don't have the demand. The factories are not going to be rebuilt. You leave a lot of ruins, okay? On the right is going to be Liverpool. That's where the Beatles came from, the lads from Liverpool. But England, that part of England, is their manufacturing is shifted also. So deindustrialize, companies move overseas, that new international division of labor. Let's take advantage of foreign labor, which is cheaper, and we put our factories there and ship the products here. But you have to keep in mind, it leaves a hole. And in America, that's a sore subject. Manufacturing jobs in America are not what they were like when I was a kid. This picture is actually kind of old, but it's a great look, and it shows Europe, how Europe is changing. Look at in England between the Silicon Valley and the M4 corridor. That's England's great manufacturing belt. That's like their Pittsburgh, their Pennsylvania. And if you look at the rest of Europe, the blue dots are going to show you where they've been losing those jobs. Whereas look at the technopoles. We're shifting. Why do the manufacturing here when someone else can do it cheaper? Let's do those technical jobs, those higher technologies, the quaternary, the design jobs. And that's shifted. If you look on this chart, look at the US, look at Detroit. And by the way, we still make cars in America, just don't always make them in Michigan. A lot of the Ford companies, we've talked about that, the Toyotas, the Hondas and stuff have put their plants up, states like Tennessee, Alabama, Ohio, and stuff like that. And so if you look around, there's a lot of places in the world where the blue dots show where things are declining. And then there's reasons why there's other areas where they're starting to increase. All right, just a quick look at it. Take care.